women sabotaging themselves.
Women hurt men that they're jealous of.
Communicating with women is fucking impossible.
Because it doesn't matter how good of a woman she is, she will lie.
For years, nobody questioned the direction things were going. Standards went up, expectations got louder, and attention was everywhere. But now in 2026, something feels off. And people are finally starting to ask, did we push things too far?
Ladies, this one's gonna sting, but most of the time it is not men ruining relationships. It is women sabotaging themselves. But first, let me explain. First is the victim mindset. If every argument turns into poor me, look what you did to me, you're not resolving the conflict. You're dodging accountability. Second, attention addiction. If you need outside validation, likes, stares, DMs to feel secure, you'll never be happy with the man that you're with. Third, lack of self-worth. If you drag your unhealed trauma into a relationship but refuse to face it and deal with it, you're making your partner pay for damage that they did not cause. These aren't just little habits. They are relationship killers. They destroy trust, create resentment, and eventually push away the man or woman you claim to love. And the hard truth, a lot of women would rather blame men than admit that they're guilty of these patterns. So before you say men are the problem, ask yourself, am I sabotaging my own relationship? Try to ask yourself that. If you're brave enough to admit that, you will change everything. If not, you're going to repeat the same cycle. Drop your take in the comments. I know this one is going to get a little heated.
At first, it didn't look like a problem. More options, more independence, more control, it all sounded like progress. But when everything becomes abundant, it also becomes disposable, and that changes how people treat each other.
There is nothing a man could say to me to make me feel bad for him. Here's why I never want to hear you say you're feeling sorry for a man. Cut that trash immediately. Men operate on a 24-hour cycle. Women, on the other hand, operate on a 28-day cycle. Let me explain. Every 24 hours, so as soon as they wake up from sleeping, that man is factory reset, like new. For women, we operate on a 28-day cycle. So it takes us 28 days, what takes them 24. One friggin' day, y'all. We go through hormone changes, our uterus basically battles its way out of our body. So on and so forth. While men have none of those things, okay? They go to bed and they wake up brand spanking new every single day. So for you, a menstruating baddie to feel bad for a man is wild behavior. We are literally fighting demons, both in our uterus and in our mind and our hormone cycles, for 28 days. 28 days of fighting for my life. 28 days of eating like a linebacker. Hello. Next time you feel bad for a man, come back to this video, okay? There is zero reason you should feel bad for him. I don't care what he's got going on. We live in a patriarchal society where they wake up every single day like freaking robots, brand new. There is absolutely no way, not here, not in 2026, that I should hear you saying you feel sorry for a man. No, thank you.
A lot of the current frustration isn't random, it's the result of years of shifting behavior. When connection turns into competition and validation becomes the goal, genuine relationships start taking a backseat.
She's the different one. She's loyal, she's funny, she's kind, she's compassionate, and she's caring. She's far from perfect. Her heart is covered in scars. She's a hard safe to crack, but not by choice. She's a work in progress. She's chasing her dreams and silently pursuing her goals. She finally knows her worth. She's powerful. She's influential. She's a lover and a fighter. She's a dying breed. She's the good girl. And yes, she does exist. She's the one you thought of while listening to this video without me saying any names.
Now there's a noticeable gap between expectations and reality. People still want high-value outcomes, but the environment doesn't support it the way it used to. That mismatch creates confusion more than anything else.
Never ever underestimate a man's ability to blame a woman for his actions.
And then further to that, get mad at her for her reaction to those actions, take it all the way back 360, and then the woman has to apologize to the man. Well done, boys, every time.
I think the feminism movement has completely beat down men.
Okay, expand on that.
I think they are scared to speak to women. I think their confidence is absolutely destroyed in the dating world. I feel like the feminism movement has kind of made women not just feel equal to men, but actually superior to men. And I feel like that's the way they treat a lot of men. Masculinity is dead.
Because feminism causes women to become masculine and to embody the traits that they would otherwise look for in a partner. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, and that's hard for a man to even be attracted to.
Right. Because
no man wants a masculine woman.
And instead of immediate answers, what people are finding is silence. Less effort, fewer approaches, less consistency. Not because nobody exists, but because fewer people are willing to engage the same way.
You want me to tell you another secret about women that I'm going to get into a lot of trouble telling you? And this is something that they will take to the grave, I swear. Don't bother asking them, because it doesn't matter how good of a woman she is, she will lie. A woman will never admit when she's fresh out of a relationship, whether she broke up with him or he broke up with her. She is going to check in with the guys that have been lying in wait. She's going to let them know that she's single, but here's the kicker. The only thing that she's going to take from those guys is a bunch of their time and attention, because she just wants her ego stroked. She's not going to have any relations with any of them, because she knew those men when she picked out her boyfriend. Her boyfriend was most likely her number one out of the guys that wanted her. Only exception is the one guy that she was interested in that was completely out of her league, but then she realized that he was completely out of her league, and well, he's obsolete now because he's probably married. But she views these other men as lying in wait if they're still single, and she might get one or two or maybe even three of them thinking that they have a real chance with her, but they don't. She's going to stop talking to them when she finds her new number one or goes back to an ex. This is why, men, you never want the woman that circles back, because she's only going to be a drain on your time and energy. Trust me.
That's where the realization starts creeping in. When attention drops and effort declines, it forces reflection. Not always comfortable, but definitely necessary.
So today, Teen Vogue publishes this article. Young women are more liberal than young men, and it's making dating harder. Is it though? Or are women just having to face the reality that feminism lied to us about what qualities are actually attractive? And one girl who's 28 from Arizona said she screenshots dating app profiles when they mention a disqualifier for women that they date that seems unfair. Like being liberal, being bisexual, or not wanting to have kids. Which, call me crazy, don't seem that outrageous. Another girl said she loved falling in love with a Trump-supporting conservative man until he made her feel bad about how many guys that she had previously slept with. But is it at all possible that maybe that wasn't slut-shaming, just an honest conversation about premarital sex? And of course, the biggest red flag of all, pro-life men. Even though a man who's pro-life is actually prepared to take responsibility for his actions, what do you think? Is dating unfair to women?
Social media played a role too. It amplified standards, inflated perceptions, and made everything look bigger and better than it actually is. But real life doesn't match highlight reels.
Okay, so this is the problem. Feminism isn't what people think it is. Like, I don't think people can really define that term. For example, Emily Ratajkowski calls herself a feminist. I don't understand why she calls herself a feminist, because she used her sexuality and her body to get fame, and then she complains about how people don't take her seriously. So that's not real feminism. Real feminists support gender roles. Real feminists believe that, women have their place in a relationship, and it's a mutual respect thing. It's teamwork. My mom is a prime example of what feminism is. She's a working woman who supports her husband at the same time, but they have a best friend relationship. It's an alternate type of feminism that destroyed modern dating. It's women that take feminism and switched it up, like the way some people take religion and then make it into their own.
Now that reality is setting in, a lot of assumptions are being questioned. What used to feel like control now feels uncertain. What used to feel empowering now feels inconsistent.
Women are confused why men don't approach them anymore, but they're the ones who train men to stop. I keep seeing these videos of women crying about how men don't pursue them or chase them like they used to. And honestly, we need to look at what we did to create this, because who would have thought that our actions have consequences? First of all, we set impossible standards. You want a man who's 6'2", making 6 figures, looks like a model, but what are you bringing to match that energy? Second of all, we made viral content out of humiliating men for trying. Every time a guy shoots his shot, there's a TikTok making fun of him. We literally train them that approaching us equals public embarrassment. And here's the biggest one. Too many women nowadays are operating in masculine energy. Thank you, feminism. That we've become completely unapproachable. You're closed off, you're not receptive, and you're giving off don't even try vibes, then wondering why nobody tries. We taught men that approaching women is harassment, then act confused when they stopped approaching us. You can't train someone to leave you alone and then be mad when they actually do. If you want to be pursued, start being pursuable and stop shaming men for doing so.
At the same time, people are noticing that others are stepping back. Not dramatically, just quietly choosing different priorities. And when enough people do that, the entire dynamic shifts.
I've started to experience a huge problem recently. I've realized that you men have dealt with it your entire life. Communicating with women is fucking impossible. Here's the problem, you can't be honest with them. One thing I've learned from studying men is that you guys are often very honest with one another. At least amongst yourselves, you say what needs to be said rather than what someone wants to hear. And that's because it's also what you would want to hear. But women cannot handle the truth. The truth often sends women into an absolute frenzy because the truth can often be offensive and our first reaction is always emotional. I've experienced this firsthand. My friends ask me for advice all the time, and I've never felt more like a girl than when I'm scared shitless to tell them that they might be the problem. I know it's what they need to hear, but because I know how much it would hurt me to hear that, I hesitate to say it, and I don't think men struggle with this as much. So what's the lesson for men? Be aware of this reality, but do not sacrifice your honesty. Even though women are offended by it, it's still the best thing for them in the grand scheme. A good woman will appreciate honesty even if not immediately. I know I certainly do.
This isn't about one side being right or wrong. It's about consequences. Every environment shapes behavior, and over time, those behaviors create patterns that are hard to ignore.
My mom do brainwashing and manipulation.
What's uncomfortable is that these patterns don't change overnight. Once habits and expectations are set, reversing them takes time, and often requires people to rethink what they actually want.
Honestly, I think more and more women are realizing that it just doesn't serve them.
Okay, no, but can we talk about it? Because as of lately, anytime that I encounter a woman who's abstaining, 9 times out of 10 it is not for religious reasons. I think this increase in abstaining is happening because a lot of women are beginning to consider the collateral damage associated with intimacy and dating. Because although some women are able to have successful and fun experiences with intimacy and dating, a lot of women have experience in the not so successful aspects of intimacy and dating. For a lot of women, intimacy and dating also comes with chaos. And honey, after a few years of chaos, you begin to question, why am I doing this? At this point, I'm beginning to think that abstaining is so prevalent because of the peace that it brings. Abstaining is a natural bullshit filter that naturally weeds out those who are not on the same page as you. It's a great way to see a person's true colors without having to get natural with them if you catch them adrift. In my opinion, it's starting to become not solely about religion and more about self-liberation and inner peace and solitude.
There's also a growing awareness that constant comparison and endless options don't lead to satisfaction, they lead to indecision. And indecision doesn't build strong connections.
Women hurt men that they're jealous of. You're a good man, you're very strong, you're patient, and you're devoted. That's very intimidating for her because she doesn't feel good enough for you because she believes that you're better than her. So she sabotages it because she's insecure. It may not just be, oh, she's crazy. I mean, it could be a lot of things like her coming from an abusive childhood, her having mental disorders going on. Like, there's a lot of real stuff that goes behind a female's behavior. So no, it may not just be that, oh, she likes me, that's why she's this crazy. I mean, yeah, but think about it deeper though. She may just not know how to love. One-on-one coaching is in my bio.
These women need multiple sources of narcissistic supply. It's also not uncommon for this woman to be flirtatious with her girlfriends, partners, or even married family members in her own family. She enjoys seeing how far she can push the envelope. She has no respect or regard for the relationships of other people. And if she can drive a wedge in between the intimate relationships of other people that she knows, she's going to do that without a second thought. Remember, this is a woman without a conscience. So nothing and no one is off limits to her. She is addicted to attention, whether that be positive attention or negative attention. She is a troublemaker, and there will be chaos and drama everywhere she goes. Next, and this part is very disturbing, but this is a woman who can and will gain pleasure and satisfaction from the suffering of other people, especially if she believes someone has crossed her or disrespected her. Furthermore, many times this woman will try and manufacture pain and distress in the lives of others, causing them suffering. You have to remember this woman is sadistic. She does not possess a conscience, as I mentioned, and she enjoys the control and power she feels from her ability to destroy the lives of others.
At the end of the day, what people are starting to see isn't damage from one side. It's the result of a system that rewarded short-term validation over long-term stability. And now everyone's dealing with the outcome.
Men stopped playing by the rules, and now everyone's freaking out. Let's break down why silence has become the loudest move.